I work in Pinkenba, which is about 5 minutes drive from the airport.
So you did courier or delivery kind of thing?
No. So, I'm living in a city. I pass the airport and I work just near the airport.
Right, so you did Uber?
Correct. So every time I drove to work,
But
I got paid.
consumes your time.
No. I'm going anyway. I'm going anyway in that direction. So why? And I know that there's always someone in the city who needs to go to the airport first thing in the morning because I start early.
So they paid off your petrol.
They paid in one trip. Paid my petrol for a week.
Yes.
Because that car was unbelievably economical. On the freeway.
Hybrid?
No. It was a 1.4 litre turbo.
Wow.
Which seems small, but it was very powerful. And it used, on average, 5.5 litres per 100 kilometres. On the freeway, it got down to 4.5 litres.
How that autopiloting works? Does it consume the same amount of petrol?
Autopiloting? No, less, because it's keeping it constant. But what it does on the freeway as well, if it can, depending on, if it's just flat, you're not going uphill, right? Once it gets to the speed, it will then disable one of the cylinders and just maintain that speed. Also, if you stop, engine cuts out, so you're not idling while the engine's running. And it's just very, the Germans just did a really good job with that engine. Like it was, when I saw 1.4, I was test driving a Mercedes, a C-Class. And I was ready to buy it.
Nothing compared to it?
And then I passed Audi and I thought, I'll just have a quick look before I make my final decision. And I saw this one. I remember looking at it and thinking, I love it. I love this car. But I think the Mercedes looks nicer.
Maybe I should check on that. I'm not a car fan, but still, because of the income generating tools to research, I'm familiar with some of them.
Well, just make sure you don't buy it personally. Make sure you buy it on the business. And lease. Lease it.
Lease it. Yeah, that's making more than 240 anyway. Like maybe 40 to 70 per day for 5 seaters, but it's more than that for 7 to 10 seaters. So they are making quite good little income without doing the Uber thing like you're actually driving.
But remember, the idea was I'm going there anyway.
That explains.
Because what Uber allows you to do, twice a day, you can put a destination. So if someone wants to go this way, it won't give you the signal. It's only if someone wants to go that way. And at that time of the morning, there's only one place people are going, airport. And because they were paying, I would take the airport tunnel because they would pay the toll. Put the cruise control on, and I just chatted.
Doing nothing now.
And I chatted. One guy I had in my car. There's some interesting people. Remember when there's the Ebola outbreak in Africa? This guy was part of the team he was the head of one of the companies who managed that, and they were developing a vaccine for Ebola, and they were helping eradicate Ebola in these countries. And after I dropped him off, I was driving, just going for the rest of the 5-minute drive to work, and I just thought to myself, I just had a guy in the car who's probably saved hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions, and no one knows his name, no one has a clue who he is, and he's just a normal guy like you and I. And the value that he's contributed to a society is greater than anyone will ever appreciate it for.
I also met Afterpay founder Nick's father is a Uber driver, and he was talking about how Nick involved the Afterpay concept, and his wife is an American lady who's a clever one to make it international. So Afterpay is like Australian founder made it like boom. So during COVID especially, they made lots of profit.
It's a very dangerous concept for millennials.
Yes. Because of the
the convenience. It's so easy to get credit, and so many young people don't have enough jobs. My nephew is one. He has Asperger's, and very hard to get a job, and so relies on government a lot. despite how much effort we want to give him, he's just, it's just the way it is. But he's used Afterpay. He's always paying off. You constantly have to pay off a debt, yet he's got no income, or such small income, and then he's in that cycle. I tried to help him when he was young. When he was 16, for example, for his birthday, I said, "Here's $200." He goes, "Oh, thanks, Uncle Luke." I said, "No problem."
So
Now, as you take, I said, or you can take 200 now and spend it whatever you want, or you give 100 to Mum, and Mum keeps it for you for 6 months, and then after 6 months you get additional $50. So I wanted to get him used to thinking about, you've got money, don't spend it all at once, invest it, and then you get a return. But you have to be patient. I was trying to get him to think like that, but he's not. He did do that. There's only one off, but he never got into the mentality of thinking.
The whole nation is not aware of that too. Like where I'm from, they are very consumer nations. So they don't produce anything. They just don't create things. But somehow they buy it and they import things from overseas countries, especially the Chinese import is quite popular as a neighboring country.
Yeah.
And then,
well, they're a generation where they're used to anything you want to know, anything you want, you can get it. You can buy it online. You can look it up. When we were young, if you want to learn something, the research starts with encyclopedias. Reading books and making phone calls to different companies or to different organisations to find out information. Now, hey Siri.
But it's good. Like you can't speak Mongolian, but the whole nation is not an investor nation. So there is still a gap for me, for example, to teach them something. So still, if I can manage to absorb as much as I can from Graham concept, Grant Cartonese concept, or whatever, still there is a huge space for me to become a mentor like them.
Yeah, there's big opportunity. Perhaps is there a way that you can take what Cardone talks about? But don't forget, he's
not exactly like them, but
not how exactly, because he's talking to people who are usually younger. But in countries like Australia and America, where it's much more brash.
Sure.
Whereas if that's his personality becomes his brand as well. And so if you can target, you would understand the culture of Mongolians better. Is there a way that can be done as effectively in a way that's more receptive to the Mongol mentality?
Yeah, their financial literacy is completely different, and their banking products, lending process is totally different.
Yeah.
So obviously there is a lot to do from my side as well to improve it.
Opportunity then.
I also wish to learn Chinese quite well. So if I can hang around with some Chinese friends. Because from my understanding, if I could speak Chinese very well, I can even buy properties with lower rate and even cheaper price.
You just need a Chinese friend.
Yeah. Because I can maybe, when I make the deal with some Chinese sellers or agents, maybe I can take you for example. When they speak some Chinese numbers, I can understand.
Yeah.
So I quite understand what's the number is. But then when they found out like I'm not Chinese, then they just somehow increase the numbers in English speaking. So that happened to me for a while. So that made me like.
You know what you need? You need a Kenyan friend. I'll tell you a funny story. This is true. This is the most amazing thing. We're in Shanghai, and we were in this market, and this is when I was working with Emirates. So we had all the cabin crew, and everyone's a different nationality. Everybody. That's what I loved about it. It's fantastic. In fact, I didn't even hang around with other Australians because I can do that in Australia. I wanted to be around other nationalities. And when you talk about stuff, even if you talk about when you're at school, it's so different to what it was like for me. So that's interesting. And we're in Shanghai in these markets. It's called the silk markets, and they sold more than silk. And we went in, and I don't like haggle because it's not really in our culture to do that. So I don't know how to do it properly because it comes across as quite aggressive. So I just avoid it, like a lot of other Australians do. But this Kenyan girl, she goes, leave it to me. And she wanted a leather jacket. And she goes, how much? And this Chinese girl, she goes, for you, lady, 9,000.
Ah.
Anyway, she goes, no, too much. And she gets her calculator. Okay, I give special for you, 7,000. No, 450. So she started at 9,000. Kenyan girl saying 450. So she goes down to 7,000. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She goes, oh God, lady, I'm losing money in here if I give it to you. 5,000. No, 450. By the end of it, 450.
Wow.
And the girl said, now get out. And I thought, I would have paid 9,000.
Yeah, some people's negotiating skill is best.
Because for me, I'm not a haggler like that. So if I try to have a price, if it doesn't meet what I'm prepared to pay, I normally just politely say, thank you, but no, and just walk out. And sometimes they chase after me and they're like, okay, I'll give you this price. Because I'm not good at the haggling. But this Kenyan girl, she was good. And she was like, solid Kenyan girl. This Chinese girl was like, this tall, this wide, and she's like, and she was like, get out. Because she lost the deal. It was classic. And the Kenyan girl's going, I like my new jacket. 451.
I'm even certified negotiation mastery from DJI's course, but I'm quite shy by nature. Maybe I should.
I started. I didn't finish it because I ended up going to my next course. But there is, Cardone does the negotiation, and I did learn also from one of the guys from Reliable Education who do the Amazon training, because part of the training is negotiation. You need to negotiate a price. And this guy's a master negotiator, and he
Adam Hudson's or different trainer.
One of the trainers, not Adam Hudson. Got his name now. Anyway,
Maybe
but he
once we'll find.
he's a very tall guy, but he used to negotiate at high level with different organisations, and he said, I'll give you a concept. He goes, walk into a car yard, and you see a car. Now the goal is you want to pay the least amount of money for that. But what you need to do, you need to find out the point where they can negotiate, what's the dollar number where they can say yes to. They're not going to say yes to begin with. So say the car's $30,000. You walk in there and you start talking, and then you say, okay, I'll offer you $20,000. And the car dealer says, get lost.
No way.
He goes, fine. Next week, go back. And they go, oh, you again. And yeah, okay, I'd like to make an offer. 22,000. Oh, get lost. Don't come back, just go away. So anyway, next time you come back again, and go, I'd like to make another offer. Right? Now, you say 25,000. It's advertised for 40, you'd have for 25. And the guy says, oh, that's a bit too low. Blah, 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 it's worth more than that, blah, blah, blah. He goes, now you've got the why. Before, you were so low that it wasn't even worth, for them, it wasn't even worth speaking to. But the fact that they're talking to you now means that the number you've offered is pretty close to what the break-even is, yeah. And just go a little bit at a time. Don't go too big. So you were going, this one you went like 22, like 20, 22, 25. Don't be going 25, 30, little by little. And he gave a really good example. I recorded the whole lecture actually. This was at the summit.
Watch it one day.
And just the audio, But it's hard to hear because I was about 20 rows back. But it just made sense. The logic was there. How you apply that logic
Yeah, so you have to be an implementer anyway.
But the other thing is, particularly with business-to-business negotiation, you need to find out what's important to the other person. What can you let go? But that is of value to them, because if you can look for something so the other person feels like they've had a win, then they're going to concede something for you, and that's what it's all about. It's about finding what ground you can give each other, rather than being aggressive and saying my way, because you're going to get more help, particularly from, say, suppliers in China. If you have a amicable relationship with them, and show them respect, they're more likely to help you out rather than screw you over.
So what's your plan for tonight?
Not much.
Going home?
Going